Hi, I'm not the Space Quest historian. He is. And today, I'm going to talk to you about our shitty game, All Demons Must Go to Hell, and what the hell we were thinking about it, and why we did what we did. Yay! So, first up, the name of the game. All demons must go to hell. What does it mean? What do you choose that for? Does it symbolize something? No, not really. Oh, let me tell you. The name, All Demons Must Go to Hell, comes from an email from a Chinese person that was sent to Space Quest Historian's spam filter. Now, why was Space Quest Historian poking around in his spam filter? Well, to you non-Danish speakers, this might come as a surprise, but Space Quest Historian is actually a published erotic poet. Yes, this is true. He has a project called Hyrdetime, in which he finds spam mail, mainly of an erotic nature, and breaks it into verses, and then releases it as poetry. It is fucking hilarious. Links in the description, or just go to saxo.com and search for Hyrdetime. Seriously, this is real. So back in the spring of 2021, I got some DMs from an absolutely giddy Space Quest historian who had found something he believed was perfect as a point of departure for our next jam game. And that point of departure was, of course, this infamous email from a Chinese guy who rambles on about COVID-19 being a biological weapon, which might be true, but that wasn't really what had caught Space Quest historian's attention. What caught his attention was the word brain death machine. So apparently COVID-19 was a biological weapon released to get people into a coma, and then the Chinese government would use a brain death machine to harvest all the organs of the COVID-19 patients. And that was our point of departure. We were gonna do a game based on the word brain death machine. However, as you may have noticed, the game isn't called the brain death machine. It is called... And the reason it's called that is because after a while, I actually took the time to read the damn email that Space Quest Historian has sent me instead of just taking it at face value. And the segment that talks about the brain death machine and the organ harvesting ends with the following quote. Everyone wants to make money, but money should be made morally. Good people can also make money as long as we work hard. I advocate that everyone can make money and obtain wealth, security, and happiness. However, only demons would harvest live human organs for dealing. All demons must go to hell. Thank you for flying 666 Airways. And so yeah, that was it. I was no longer interested in a brain death machine. That would have to be some sort of like footnote joke somewhere. I didn't really care anymore. So I called Space Quest Historian and told him, dude, the game is no longer based on the concept of a brain death machine. It's based on the concept of all demons must go to hell. And how you can fuck with that absolute concept. And Space Quest Historian, who was in a lovely mood after all the King's Quest you patrons has put him through, instantly agreed with me and said, yeah, dude, run with it. Run with it. That sounds evil and horrible. Let's do that. So, that's the name of the game. So that leads us to the next bit of this video, which is, what's it all about? When you get right down to it. Just like that quote from Terry Pratchett, it's about death. It's about the death of the German scientist Wilhelm Schengen aus Todesfelde. And what killed Wilhelm Schengen aus Todesfelde is, well, not directly told anywhere in the game, but it's pretty heavily hinted at in the end credits. Meta-plot spoiler warning that Wilhelm has killed himself. But remember, before you feel too bad for him, remember that he's in purgatory, and the person who's there to collect his soul is the devil. So, you know, he might have been a bit of a naughty little boy back in real life. However, regardless of him being a naughty boy or not, he is in luck because there is a disembodied soul called a Ewan who has made a deal with the devil for the soul of Wilhelm Schengen aus Todesfelde. And they have called this deal the Wilhelm-Schengen Agreement, because that's fucking hilarious. In case you don't know what the Schengen Agreement is, it's an agreement made in the European Union that allows for the free travel of citizens and goods between European borders. So, get it? Get why that's funny? Because Purgatory gets to travel free, his name is Schengen. Anyway, that is pretty much the plot of the game. Man goes to Purgatory, someone else makes a plea for his soul, and he gets to not go to hell. At least, for now. So, yeah, that's it. That naturally leaves us with the question of, who the fuck is this Ewan guy? And how does he have the power to fuck around with the fucking devil? And the answer to that is quite interesting, actually. That's because Ewan is... Well, I'm not gonna tell you. Sorry, but there is actually an unhinged theory made by the YouTuber Deadman, who is... He's not entirely on point, but he is annoyingly fucking close.
Could Ewan be the angel Gabriel in disguise? Or possibly Peter who guards the pearly gates? Or is there something more sinister afoot?
So you can watch that. Links in the description. And of course play our future jam games and what have you. And maybe you will be given more information then. But for now, no. I'm not telling you anything. And that then leads us to the soundtrack. And what's up with that weird-ass fucking voice?
Was bedeutet es, Worte zu schreiben? Ein Wort zu schreiben ist die Schöpfung der Realität.
So the soundtrack is fucking weird because it takes place in Purgatory, and the idea was to have everything in the game to be weird and purgatorial. Like, so we have a ground rule, all demons must go to hell, how can fuck with it, we do that via Purgatory. The UI is Purgatorian, it's like a gauntlet you have to get through, just use the UI. Challenge in the game is a Purgatory gauntlet, and it's a challenge to listen to the fucking soundtrack. And because I like the idea that if you just let the soundtrack play, it just gets weirder and weirder. So a lot of the soundtrack is just me fucking around with samples from freesound.org. Way too many samples to mention the contributors in the 14-day game jam, but huge shout out to freesound.org because that's a fucking amazing homepage. And during one of those soundscapes I was putting together for the menu puzzle, it just kind of went into a weird space, and I had the fun idea of adding a voice, which is this German voice that a lot of streamers have been weirded out by, especially when they hear it for the first time in the mail room, and everybody seems to freeze up because it's German and then just quickly put their hands up and go, I don't know, I hope he's not saying something very bad, but I think it's fine.
Aber wenn wir in ein Restaurant gehen, etwas Seltsames passiert. Wir haben die Nahrungskette erobert.
Which I found hilarious because he doesn't say anything bad per se. He just rambles a bit about philosophy, kinda. And the idea was that this voice is actually Wilhelm's subconscious. Because, meta plot, spoiler warning. In my idea, Purgatory takes place in that space of time between when you die and the lights go out completely. Kind of like when you turn off your phone charger. If you have one of those phone chargers with a little red light indicating there's still electricity in it, and you turn it off, and it's still on for just a few seconds before it completely dies out. So that's my idea of where Purgatory takes place, is in that space. Joe Scott has a video on how long the human head stays alive after you decapitate it.
Just in case you couldn't tell by the title, this one's gonna be a little dark.
So you can go over to his channel later and check that out. Kind of makes sense that there is a special kind of consciousness, non-consciousness, and just makes sense to me that the subconscious would be where Purgatory takes place. I don't know if that's completely insane. That's my idea. And just to calm everybody's tits down, the voice speaks, if you let the soundtrack play during the menu puzzle and just let it go out, the voice speaks about restaurants and how being at a restaurant has conquered the food chain, and rambles on about that a bit. And in the mail room, the voice talks about our pictures says the same as 1,000 words, but 1,000 words can also write an ideology, which can lead to 1,000 pictures. And then it keeps on repeating the phrase, all words are magic words.
Alle Wörter sind Zauberwörter. Alle Wörter sind Zauberwörter. Alle Wörter sind Zauberwörter. Alle Wörter sind Zauberwörter.
Kind of indicating that, yeah, what we say matters. And maybe there will be reference to that later in the sequel to the Wilhelm game that we're doing at AdventureJam in November, hopefully. And then of course there's the voice in the end credit, but it's subtitled, so it shouldn't be that hard to understand. So yeah, that's the deal with the voice, and that's why the soundtrack is so weird, is because it's supposed to be this subconscious, primal Furies, Purgatorian, gauntlet-y experience. And a little fun story about the sliding tile puzzle soundscape. Kind of the idea was, when you let it just play out, was to let to mimic kind of an anxiety attack, because I have anxiety and I wanted to do what would take place in my subconscious. Well, I would definitely have an anxiety attack if this was the fucking final puzzle that I would have to go through, because I fucking hate sliding tile puzzles. And fun fact, when I did that imitation of it with all the gasps in the end, I actually triggered my own anxiety. So yay, suffer for your art, I guess. Which finally leaves us with the best part of it all, the Easter egg that no one found. But first, there is actually 2 Easter eggs in the game. And the first one, I think, was found by a few streamers actually. It was that if you click the verb shout twice, it turns into the verb let it all out. And if you click that verb, Wilhelm will sing,
"These are the verbs I could do without,"
which is a Tears for Fears Easter egg reference.
Okay.
So that's the first. And then there is, well, that's not really an Easter egg, but there are all the different menu combinations, and most of them don't do much, but some of them, if you combine kale with kidney, he starts farting to a rap beat, because I'm infantile and I fucking hate hip-hop. So, but there's actually 3 different versions. So there are actually 3, like a full 3 minutes of me just making fart noises into a microphone to hip-hop beats. If you wanna go check that out, it is also actually something you have to do if you want full points. Yeah. And there's also in the menu, if you combine the Russian option, which is just Russian for alphabet soup, with I believe it's kale, then he will start speaking Russian.
КБ экономика зеркало. Переписка ахнуть вредно обзор.
There are 9 different Russian responses, and they are all completely nonsensical. I simply went into a webpage that would randomly generate words, and I would just pick fun words and put them together and make a text-to-speech algorithm speak them out, and yeah. There's no meaning in that or anything, and doesn't really, I don't know if it's counted as an Easter egg, but it's there, so, you know, if you want to listen to rambling Russian, you can go and do that.
You seem so far away, and I just need to hear your voice. Girl, in the tower, I'm reaching out.
And then there is, of course, now, the big one. You can find God in this game. Of course, you can find God. God was introduced in our last game, Long Distance Coughing. Spoiler alert for that one. You have a phone. If you call 666, you will get Satan and Ewan having a discussion.
What were you doing?
Oh, just recording a voice message for the hell phone.
Well, don't. I am the only one who records anything in hell.
All right. Sheesh.
And if you dial 555, you will be put on hold by the Department of Heaven and talk to the Archangel Hezekiah, who is taking God's phone calls.
You have called God. I am busy at the moment, but stay on the line, and one of my angels will be with you shortly.
So God was introduced in that last game, and in this one he's in it as well, because we're in this topic of purgatory. So you can find God, and you find God by going to the giant gumball machine, and in a huge fuck you from us, the developers, you have to use every verb on the giant gumball machine. So that was the joke, that the verbs are not useless because they actually have that one use, that if you use all the verbs on the giant gumball machine, God will appear before you. And you can't talk to God, but you can use the verb fondle on God, and that will unlock a fun little conversation with God.
Who dares fondle my effigy? Oh, it's you. Let me guess, you're tired of traversing the devil's labyrinth? Wanna try something new?
Yeah, and the astute player would of course ask, why the hell can you not use the verb dispute on God? And that's because I forgot that verb was in the UI and I forgot to write something for it. So there, I just wrote for fondle because my head was in a dirty place. So yeah, that's about what I could just add to the full skinny of the game, and I'm sure Space Quest Historian will tag on a truckload of shit that I forgot to mention. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I want to thank everyone who has played it and apologize. I'm so sorry for putting you through that. And yeah, check back in November. We'll do the sequel then, and it will be different. It will be different. It will be annoying in a different way. Not the UI. We will try to make a nicer UI. Promise. Totally promise. Pinky promise.